Hello, hello. This is Michael Robert Holmes, and welcome to another episode of Games We Never Play, the podcast where we talk about the games that you have on your shelf or your hard drive that you've always meant to play, but you never seem to get around to. So we play them, so you don't have to. I'm your host for the next couple episodes, and we're going to be playing Troll Lord Games' Amazing Adventures. It's a Pulp-style adventure game, D20, a lot of familiar territory here, with some really great customization options, but we'll get to that in a minute. Gonna go around the table, introduce the players, and then we'll just see where the day takes us. So to my immediate left is...
Hi guys, it's Jameson. You may have heard me on the last podcast. You can find me online at striking_rogue if you're on Twitter, and GM_mace if we are on Instagram. But yeah, I've heard a lot about this game. I'm excited to play it. I haven't done any reading because I was doing the Zelda research last time, so... I'm excited.
Well, if it makes you feeling better, I didn't do much Zelda reading because I was doing all the reading on this.
It didn't show at all.
Oh, well, thank you. And I have a feeling it won't in your case either.
Yay!
And to his left, we have...
Hello, this is Stephen Pope. You can find me online at StephenJPope22 on all social media. And I'm really excited to be here. I've been wanting to play Amazing Adventures for a hot second now, so it'll be good.
Great, and I'm very, very excited to have you here. You're always great to have at a table.
Thank you, Michael.
And across the table from him, we have...
Hi, I'm Jay Africa. You can find me on Twitter at JAfrica and on Instagram at TransplantAsian. And I definitely don't get enough pulp games in my life, so I am incredibly excited to play this one.
And we're very, very excited that you could be here. And last but most certainly not least, we have...
This is Bryan Haskell. You can find me on Twitter at Bryan J. Haskell. That's Bryan with a Y and Haskell with 2 L's. I am also super into all things pulp, Sky Captain, all those good stories and tales, and so I am really jazzed for this.
Awesome. So I am going to say it again, probably several times throughout the course of this recording, that I'm very glad you guys are here today. The pulp genre has always been one that's kind of close to my heart. One of the first movies that I ever saw was Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that definitely imprinted on me. And then as I've gotten older and explored, different kinds of speculative fiction and role-playing games, I did glom on to things like The Shadow and, oh god, what's the other one? I'm blanking right now, but the Indiana Jones movies, Doc Savage, all of the pulp shows and novels from the 30s and 40s and beyond, and there are a ton of games on the market that emulate those settings, but there's something about Amazing Adventures that really attracted me. Now, as I said in the intro, it is basically just a D20 system. Troll Lord Games has another game called Castles and Crusades, which on its face looks basically just like another D&D clone, but if you go a little bit under the hood, you can see that the mechanics are actually really streamlined, and they pay homage to old school roots with a little bit of modern flair to them. And the same system is at play in Amazing Adventures. And the base mechanic, this is really all you need to know to play the game, is you have a D20, you add a modifier, you try to beat a number. And in the next hour, we'll be doing an actual play. No, but the main selling point for me for Amazing Adventures in terms of what sets it apart from the other pulp games on the market is the level of character customization that is available to you. Now, in the main book, which is what we're mostly going to be operating out of, you have some pretty standard pulp stereotypes. You've got the Arcanist, who are your men and women of magic. You've got your Gadgeteer, who are your purveyors of weird science and all things static electricity inducing. You've got the hard-boiled gumshoe detective. You've got the hooligan, who, might be your second story man or woman. You've got the mentalist, which is a man or a woman who harnesses the powers of the mind and bends the will of others to their own. You've got the pugilist, the stalwart fighter, who might be a boxer, he might be an ex-soldier, something like that, but he wants to continue to fight the good fight. You've got the Raider, which is, for lack of a better comparison, the Indiana Jones of the Amazing Adventures setting. And then finally, you also have the Socialite, because it seems that in a lot of classic pulp tales, there's always some sort of benefactor or well-to-do individual who wants to have themselves a spot of fun and get themselves in a little bit of trouble. So that's the role that the Socialite fills. You do have the ability to multi-class like you do in other games, but because of the way that the characters overlap. You know, you might have a socialite who's also a bare-knuckle fighter in her spare time. You might have a raider who is also troubled by visions of things that he saw in the Great War and has devoted his life to the study of the mind to be able to help bring those mysteries to light so that they don't hurt others, and so on and so forth. And then there's just a ton of other options that when it comes to actually customizing your character that we're going to touch on a little bit here. But suffice to say, Amazing Adventures is a really robust system. I'm really excited to play it. And if it's all right with you guys, I'd like to jump into some character creation right now.
Sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't we go around the table really quickly? And I should say that there are a couple of companion volumes to the main book. There's the Book of Powers and the Amazing Adventures Companion that do introduce some other character types. So if you don't feel like any of the archetypes that we just discussed really cover what you want to do, there might be other options available to you. So yes, Mason.
Now, did you read the Spycraft companion to this, the Austin Powers book?
No, baby, no.
Okay.
But I heard it was shagadelic.
Okay.
That's strike one for those who are listening.
Also, just because Brian and Jay, you're new players to the table, we are going to try to keep it PG here. So keep cursing to a bare minimum. Think what you might see on broadcast TV. If you slip up, it's not the end of the world, but we do try to make this a little more digestible for a wider audience.
Worst case, we'll replace it with like a whip crack or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Copy that.
An explosion, something like that.
There's one that you can use right there. That would crack.
Exactly. Can we get another take?
Clean one?
Clean take. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. My job here is done. So what I'd like to do now is, before we get into the actual building of the characters, let's go around the table and see what kind of archetypes in the pulp genre appeal to you and what you think you might want to play today. So let's start with you, Mason.
Do you mind if I go last? Because I'm going through the classes still, and I'm kind of feeling about. I kind of want to see where everyone else.
Absolutely.
is at.
There's no problem with that. And Steven, I'm going to put you on the spot because you and I have already been talking about playing this game for quite some time.
Yes.
So you have a character all ready to go.
Effectively. I still kind of need to tweak them a little bit, but I do have the basis for a character. The gold thing.
Yeah, gold thing towards you.
Yeah.
Oh, is it towards you?
It was
Okay,
towards
good.
me. Yeah.
Perfect.
Sorry about that. We'll edit that out.
Yes.
Right. So, I've been excited about this game for a while now, and I really fell in love with the Gadgeteer. I love the idea of a, greasy wrench monkey, underappreciated in their time, borderline mad scientist. And also, the Gadgeteer gets a really cool ability where their gadgets are based off the spells in the game, and I think that's really fun, so I'm going to have some fun with that.
Yeah, and one of the things that I like about that is that you can build whatever you want, and if you can apply a spell to it, there's your gadget. And also the Gadgeteer can build gadgets on the fly. Basically, the way it works is that you have a certain amount of Gadgeteer points, and you create a gadget by... Well, I won't get into the real nitty-gritty of it, but it's like the level of the caster that you would need to cast the spell plus like 1 or 2.
Yes.
So that means that at first level, you're not going to be... You don't have a Doomsday Machine, but you might have a Zap Pistol or something like that.
Right. What I do have is the Luna Lantern, which is dancing lights, and some supersonic jet boots.
Awesome. I can't wait to see those in action.
Those are going to be fun.
And I was going to say something else right now. Your character's got a name, though, doesn't he?
Yes. Moses Mo Levinson Jr.
I'm just typing that down for posterity. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Mo right now?
Sure, why not? So Mo is, he's from the Bronx. His dad died in the war.
World War I or World War II? Because I should say that our game takes place in New York City in 1948, or rather it starts in New York City in 1948. Where it goes from there, that remains to be seen.
Let's go ahead and say his dad died in World War II.
Sounds good.
Yes. He was... 1948, are we still in World War II?
No, it ended in
Oh, it's been
45.
over for 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So he never got a chance to serve. He's a little bitter about it, but he's a really good inventor. But he's all about aesthetics. So he wants everything to look cool and, be useful.
So it'd be a hideous triumph of form and function.
Exactly. It might not always work, but at least it'll look nice.
Awesome. Well, let's leave it at that for now, because we'll get to know Moses a little bit later. Or do you prefer Mo?
He goes by Mo.
Mo. Okay, great. Jay?
So for this particular game, I was mulling over what character concept I'd like, and I kind of got attached to the pugilist. And I started thinking about, what kind of person I'd like to run, and I think I have come up with a gentleman named Josue Lee.
Okay.
Josue.
I love
Yeah,
it.
he is a descendant of a Louisiana plantation widow and former slave owner who fell in love with one of her slaves, a Brazilian forced transplant, shall we say. And so he is of mixed heritage, but he has grown weary of his comfortable life in the Deep South, and he decided to serve in the war. Came back after some adventures out in wartime, and is now trying to make a life for himself outside of his family, trying to find himself as an individual.
Great. I love it. Yeah, cool. Sorry, I thought I had something else to say there, and I didn't.
Well, that happens.
All right, Brian, what do you got?
Well, I've only got the outlines of a character. I'm still not 100% sure what class I even want to play, so I'm hoping that we can kind of tease that out over the next, hour or so.
Okay.
I'm going to make it really laborious, is what I'm saying.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. So I'm imagining somebody like, so when you said the Bronx, it kind of tickled my brain a little bit. I think I want to make someone, who's homegrown, a very, very New York guy, it's in his blood. Maybe he served abroad in the war. Maybe I'm kind of torn between the classes of, ne'er-do-well and socialite.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like the margins in between there. Someone who, made it through the war more with pluck and, quick thinking and dirty tricks than necessarily, being a straight-laced soldier. Maybe he was in the OSS, behind enemy lines kind of thing.
Okay.
So, someone who's more street smart than book smart.
Got you doing some profiteering then, stealing artwork and selling it.
I did not pull a
Fighting hellfish.
Binder. That's a Catch-22 reference for people who have no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
See, and I was going to say Colonel Mustard from the Clue movie.
Colonel Mustard. You mean Martin Mull?
The one and only, yes.
He's so perfect and talented.
I'm going to say we're going to make this guy a hooligan.
Yeah, all right.
Because the hooligan is the Amazing Adventures version of the rogue character from so many fantasy games, but that is just a rough determination of how he approaches life.
Mm-hmm.
The window dressing that you give to it, that's what makes it your character.
Yeah, I'm sort of I'm tumbling a voice for this guy around in my brain right now, so come back to me.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then Mason, do you have an idea?
I have an idea now,
Okay.
now that I've heard everyone else's wonderful ideas. I have now found one of my own. I want to play the Arcanist.
Oh,
because
perfect.
that's what you got to do, is you got to go the deep end, magic.
Okay, so the way the magic system in Castles and Crusades and in Amazing Adventures works is that you basically have a certain pool of points that you use to cast spells every day, instead of having a set number of, say, level 1 or level 2 or level 3 spells. Basically, you can cast as many spells that you have points for, which means if you had, say, 4 spells that cost 1 point each to cast, and then 1 spell that cost 4 points to cast, you can either cast 4 of those 1 point spells or 1 4-point spell. Does that
Gotcha,
make
kind of
sense?
like spell slots.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And then the way you recover it, of course, is by, taking a normal rest. But the Arcanist also has the ability to meditate, which allows them to basically enter a trance and regain, I believe, half of their magic energy points. That's explained in the class section for the Arcanist. So, now that we generally have an idea of what we're doing, let's start building these characters. One of the ways that they suggest coming about your stats, and we have the 6 basic stats, we've got Strength, Dex, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma, is to spend 45 points across them. You would start at 6 points and then allot those 45 points across the others. Now, alternatively, we can do the roll 46, drop the lowest one, and do that 6 times and arrange them as you'd like. I don't know that I necessarily have a preference. I'm open to what the table wants to do. So what do you guys think?
Well, I think, personally speaking, it seems like everybody here has a pretty established kind of idea what they want to do. So maybe, purchasing points would be the way to go.
Okay.
Just to achieve that vision.
Sounds good to me.
Unless there's possibly like a not point buy, standard array.
Standard array.
There is, and if you want to give me a sec, I can tell you what that is. Also, one very important thing to keep in mind that is different in the system than what I've seen is the importance of primary and secondary attributes. If you attempt to do an action using one of your primary attributes, it is by default easier than one that is using one of your secondary attributes. The base target difficulty number for one of your primary attributes is 12, and the base difficulty for one with your secondary attributes is 18. So keep in mind what you would want to be doing on a regular basis when you allot your primary attributes, and you can have 3, and each class actually has 1 that is required. So for the Arcanist, you actually have some leeway, because depending on which primary attribute you choose, that also indicates what your approach to magic is. So intelligence is somebody who reads it in books. Wisdom is someone who perhaps has gone out into the world to seek the knowledge of others and bring it into themselves. There are charisma-based magic users, which believes that all that power resides within the individual, and it is upon you to draw that power out. So, in your case, depending on how you want to approach magic, that's going to determine what at least one of your primary attributes is. Now, in Steven's case, the Gadgeteer, one of their primary attributes is intelligence. Yes. It has to be, because that's what allows... Well, actually, sorry, I take that back. They do give 2 examples in the book. There's the intelligence-based Gadgeteer, and that is the individual who builds their own gadgets. And then there's the charisma-based Gadgeteer, who has someone who does it for them.
The rich idiot with no day job.
Exactly.
Don't you diss Batman.
I think technically he builds some of his own stuff, right?
I thought he built most of it.
Yeah, well, there was
Lucius Fox is, the power behind the throne.
And I think there was a period of time where there was a guy who just hung out in the Batcave and built stuff for him.
Oh, Craig. Yeah, Craig.
Yeah. Steve, Craig, I don't know.
The spin-off comic wasn't
Steve
very
Craigson.
good.
Steve Craigson, yes. Craig Stevenson.
Or was it Craig Steves?
Oh, shit. I think that's his brother.
I think I went to Hebrew school with him.
Oh, yeah.
So it seems like the table wants to do the point buy.
Yeah.
So as I said, what that means is that all of your attributes start at 6, and then you allot 45 points across those. And then, of course, like in all other role-playing games, depending on the stat that you actually arrive at, you get a modifier. It's okay. For any checks made using that stat. So take a moment and complete your spread, and if there's any questions, I'm here to answer them for you.
All right. Okay. So...
If you wanted to, for whatever reason, you could drop a stat below 6 and gain a point, but you're at a pretty substantial negative modifier at that point.
Is it a 1-to-1 point buy?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
That does make it a lot easier.
Yeah, unlike the other game systems we've played.
So I've decided to put 3 points into my strength, giving it a 9, making it a 0 modifier.
Okay.
I've put 10 points into my dexterity, giving me a 2 modifier. I've also decided to make it one of my 3 prime skills, right?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I put 4 into Constitution, just to keep it nice and even. Get that to a 0. I put 12 into my Intelligence, because it has to be a prime skill for me.
It has to, yeah.
A prime ability, sorry. And then I put 8 into Wisdom and 8 into Charisma, and I decided to make Charisma my final prime.
Great.
Yeah.
That all sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice that on the character sheet there aren't like a list of skills like you would see in Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. It's assumed that your character knows how to do things that they would have to do on a regular basis for the kind of adventurer they are. So anytime you wanted to, say, make a technology check, you would just add the stat from one of your primary attributes. You don't have like a specific technology skill, although you can add one, and we can talk about that later maybe. You guys don't necessarily have to give me your arrays if you don't want to, but we can.
Yeah, I've got a strength of 11.
Okay.
Dexterity of 14.
Okay.
Con of 11.
Okay.
Intelligence of 16.
Great.
Wisdom of 11.
Okay.
And charisma of 18. So you had spoken about being someone who feels that the power is within them and they're drawing it out. This guy did not serve in the military at all. He felt that the war between men is a folly and sort of like, whatever. There are ancient beings that are trying to be woken up. We got to stop those guys.
Right.
That's the real fight.
Have a name for this guy yet?
Nope, not yet.
We'll get it. Don't worry.
I'm feeling him out. He's almost there.
So what I would ask you to do is in the boxes, Jay, I know you're doing something slightly different, and that's totally fine. But there are boxes on the character sheets where you can indicate which of your stats is your prime. So just do an X or a check mark or something so that way you know at a glance what it is. And then also there is a chart with the modifiers next to it, so make sure you put the mods on your character sheet as well.
Yes, and the mods are not like they are in Dungeons and Dragons.
That's right. The array is slightly off.
Yes.
And not in a bad way.
Yes. A 9 to 12 is a 0, a 13 to 15 is a 1, and a 16 to 17 is a 2.
This feels weird.
It does feel weird, but it does make sense.
It's like writing with my left hand.
Or does it feel amazing?
Amazing adventure, that is.
Exactly.
Now,
Sorry, Steven, did I interrupt you?
yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
On the sheet, there's a mod plus level. Is that our kind of saving throw?
Yes, we'll
Okay.
get to that in a sec.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Totally fine.
I see what you mean.
One thing really quickly is everybody speaks the language of the country that they live in. You get bonus languages based on your intelligence skill. Let's see here. You can speak languages equal to twice your intelligence bonus.
Ooh.
So for like Josue, it would probably make sense that somewhere in your family there's still a little bit of that Brazilian Portuguese somewhere, right? Maybe.
Yeah, it's just his intelligence doesn't really.
Oh well, what is his
allow for it.
intelligence?
He's just got base 10 intelligence.
All right, then never mind.
So
You speak American.
I speak English and I am proud.
No, you
of
speak
it.
American.
I speak American English and I'm proud of it.
I'm proud to be an American.
Yep. And Brian, you want to just go over yours really quickly?
Well, I'm still kind of noodling around with the stats, so this may be subject to change, but I got a strength of 12,
Okay.
a dex of 18, con and intelligence 10, wisdom 16, and charisma 15.
Awesome. I love it. Sounds good. So I'm just going to keep going through the pages here. If you have access to a device where you can look at the page in the Amazing Adventures core book that has your character abilities or your character class descriptions, you should see some abilities that are available to you at first level, and then it also tells you what your beginning hit points are and what your base to hit is. And you use your base to hit for combat. Pretty straightforward. Mason, in your case, you're going to have to choose some spells, and there is a list of spells broken down by primary stats in the magic section, so I can help you with that in a second if you'd like. And I'm just confirming, Stephen, what you'd said about the saving throws really quickly. I want to make sure I'm not giving you bad information, because that would suck. There is an alignment system in the game, and it's not too outside of what we have all come to expect. We can have a discussion about that, but I trust you all to just play your characters and have them take the actions that, make sense to the way you want to play them. One other thing that is a fun mechanic here are fate points. These are bonus points that allow you to adjust the outcome of certain die rolls or events in the game. Some are on a 1-to-1 ratio. Some effects are more powerful and they cost more fate points. And each of you is starting out the game with 10 fate points. I can choose to award you more at some point if I wish, depending on good role playing or a smart choice, any number of things. But while you guys are plugging in some of the data from your character sections, I want to let you know what fate points can be used for, and we can go over those again. We have Fortune's Favor, which allows you to alter a single D20 roll used to make an attack, attribute check, level check, or a saving throw. And that means you would spend 1 fate point to add an additional D6 roll to that roll to hopefully augment it in your favor. You have the ability to give your foe a mighty blow. So when a character spends 1 fate point to make a single earth-shattering attack, the attack automatically hits the opponent. No attack roll is needed. Also, the attack does double the maximum possible damage for the attack. However, the character must then make an unmodified D20 roll. On a result of 1 through 9 on the D20, that means that the weapon shatters and the result of the mighty blow is ruined from blowback. Yes, Brian.
So be careful about doing it with your fists then.
Yes, exactly, because
Okay.
you would be injured there. Let's see. You also have the ability to make your opponent miss you automatically. You may spend 1 fate point to automatically succeed at a saving throw. If you've lost more than half of your current hit points, you can spend 2 fate points once a day to regain half of all of the hit points that you've lost. You can spend a fate point to double your allotted movement for a single round. If you are close to dying, you can stabilize yourself automatically. You can ask for a clue that might help you along with the story. As I said, I am the ultimate arbiter of who gets more fate points and when, so be nice to me. Also, we should talk about exploding dice. In most games along these lines, if you roll a natural 1 or a natural 20, those have different kinds of consequences. On a natural 20, you would then roll a d6, and each time that you roll a 6, it continues to explode, thus increasing the effects of your roll. Alternatively, if you roll a natural 1, you have to roll a d6, and every time you get a 6, it decreases the effect of the action you're trying to take. Now, in a combat setting, what this means damage-wise is that for as many times as you can get a d6 to explode, you would add that to the damage of the attack being made. So let's say you rolled a natural 20 shooting somebody with your Colt 45, and you kept rolling 6s, you rolled 3 6s and a 4, you would do an additional 22 points of damage. Probably not likely, but it's possible.
Okay.
Alright. As I said, I'm looking through the saving throw information really quickly. Does anybody have any questions about what is in their actual character descriptions right now?
Not at this time.
Brian?
All good.
Okay. Jay, you doing all right?
Yeah, no questions so far.
Okay. Really, I think the left side of the table are the ones who've chosen the more complicated characters. Nothing against what you guys have chosen. It's just they're dealing with points allotting to certain gadgets or spells or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, Brian.
So we'll be waiting on you.
What are you talking about? I'm already ready, buddy.
Are you?
Yeah. I don't have
Really?
to pick my spells yet.
What?
Then you're not ready.
Hmm?
If you haven't picked your spells, then you're not ready.
Well, listen.
Boom!
I didn't know we were doing that right now. I'll do that right now.
You can pick it after the podcast.
I'll do that. I'll pick it after.
You could be an arcanist with no spells. That's
I-
that's a cool, edgy idea.
Well, I mean, you mean I'm just what's his name? I'm
Then you're not a wizard.
Chris Angel.
no, the guy from Lord of the Rings, Gandalf.
Gandalf did magic.
You're not a cheap conjurer? Or
I am totally a
Cheap
conjurer.
conjurer of
cheap
cheap
tricks.
tricks?
Can we go back to the fact that if you're a wizard who can't do magic, then you're not a wizard. You're just a crazy person.
I'm here to rob you.
No, you're a bard.
Oh.
Oh!
I said it. I am not taking
Are
it
you
back.
anti-bardist? I am pointing so hard at the X on the table right now.
Yeah. And actually, since Brian does bring that up, one of the things we want to foster at our table is a sense of safety, in the sense that we don't want to broach any territory that could potentially make anybody at the table uncomfortable. So if, as the game goes along, we are treading into territory that might be upsetting to you for one reason or another, all you have to do is point at the X card. We won't say anything on stream, and we'll just see where the adventure goes from there.
Okay.
Didn't have to worry about it so much in the Zelda game because, you know...
It's
My
for
mom's a
everyone.
bokoblin.
I don't
so-
know.
Exactly.
Hyrule is not a safe space.
Well, I mean, I suppose it depends who you are in
There's
Hyrule.
people always after your hearts, man.
Exactly.
Always.
The first thing you ever read in a Zelda game in game is it's
Dangerous
dangerous, to
to
go
go
alone.
Yeah,
Take
take
this.
this. Yeah.
Why would you ever go alone? Call an Uber.
So to clarify, the number assigned to your saving throw
Okay.
is your current level and whatever the mod associated with the attribute is.
Okay. Good.
And I have a master list of what the saving throws are.
They also give us a pretty handy cheat sheet.
Indeed. You know, no game is complete without gear, and Amazing Adventures is no different. And while you're certainly not all going to be running around in suits of chainmail or padded leather or studded leather armor like you would in a fantasy game, that's not to say that you are running into the world without any protection at all. So, I don't know if we want to go through allotting equipment now or in between streams.
That is entirely up to you, sir. If you feel like doing a shopping trip, what's the record time?
30 minutes.
Oh, we still got like half an hour. Then.
Okay, cool.
So whatever you want to do.
I
And if-
will say this: one of the coolest things I've read about this game so far is that your costume doesn't necessarily have to make sense. It just has to be cool, and that helps your AC.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's your deal gonna be?
Well, Michael, do you mind if I?
Not at all. But there's one thing I want to throw out there really quickly for you to just annotate somewhere on your sheet.
Great.
One of the things that we are going to be using is the backgrounds feature, and what that means is that the professions that you are developing your characters around right now do give you a bonus to certain situations. So like I said, while you don't have a list of skills that might be related to your particular character class,
Okay.
you get a +2 bonus to anything that, let's say, you can reasonably convince me would be part of your background.
+2 to puppetry.
Is that how you
Nope.
distracted some guards to...
That's how you made
maybe.
it through the war.
Look at the monkey. Look at this silly monkey.
That's going to cost you 5 fate points.
Yeah. I'll burn that. I'll burn that without thinking.
Okay. So, are backgrounds a thing in the book?
They are. They are on page 63.
Okay. And Brian, to answer your question, right now I've decided my character has a motorcycle jacket with fingerless gloves, a domino mask, and a scarf.
Wow. You are really leaning into the man of adventure thing here.
I really am.
All right. Cool. You do you.
I am 600% here to look like a reject steampunk Iron Man.
I was thinking more like Green Hornet.
Oh, I see that. I totally see that.
Yeah.
That was good because I was gonna go for something like the math or the shadow.
Yeah.
Shadow.
I mean, if one of you wants to just have a valet who does all the actual work, like, great job, Kato! Great job, Kato! Great kick! Now untie me!
But the equipment list begins on page 53, which includes armor. I'm doing some pretty big air quotes that you can't see right now. And if you wanted to have a suit of chainmail, we can have that conversation. But it's just in New York of 1948.
You gotta look a little
You're
silly.
going to stand out a little bit.
Well, it's New York 1948. You're an idiot if you're not wearing chainmail after 10 p.m.
See, I didn't go to New York until 2017, so I don't know how much the city has changed.
I mean, Times Square is very family friendly.
They
So
have
I'm
a
told.
Other
Chili's.
parts, not so much.
I had a lovely time, and I didn't see any chuds at all.
Chuds.
Yeah. God, what does it stand for?
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller.
Yes.
Oh,
Because
you mean Morlocks?
essentially, yeah. But earlier you were referencing the episode of The Simpsons where Homer goes to New York to get his
Yes.
car back, and he makes a reference about the pimps and the chuds.
Okay.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, folks. My name is Michael Holmes, and yeah.
Yeah, the episode of The Simpsons that Michael is referencing is one where the rest of the Simpson family has an amazing time in New York, and Homer just has the worst day you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
It was also one of the. Well, anyway, go on.
Roast
We'll talk
tea
about that.
here.
We'll talk about that on our Simpsons podcast. Right now, we're talking Pulp Adventurers.
Yes. So, can we pick our background, or do you want us to roll the d20?
Well, that's up to you. Which would you prefer? Because
I
there
prefer
is
to
a.
pick.
Okay. So I'm guessing you're going with scientist.
I'm actually going with mechanic.
Okay, cool. So that means you would get a +2 on any skills or any checks that would potentially involve something a mechanic would know how to do.
There we go.
I'm gonna roll.
Okay, let's
Why
see what we got.
What'd you get?
18. Politician.
I like it though. No, because you are a politician hooligan. And if you were doing shady stuff during the war, that totally scans.
Oh my God, I'm Jimmy Hoffa.
We'll just see how this
How
works
this
for
plays
you.
in New York.
Yeah.
What's your charisma stat?
15.
I'd bump it up.
And
I
also,
don't know. I've seen some very dull politicians.
And also, well, you don't have to write down all of the special abilities in your character class on your character sheet, because I know we all have wonderful electronic devices right now. If you think that that would be helpful to you, go for it. But as I said, it's not required. Guns. Guns are kind of staple of pulp adventures. I will say that in the Polite Society of 1948, if you walk down the street firing a couple of pistols, you're probably going to get taken in by the police, but that doesn't mean that you don't know how to handle yourself if things get a little hot and heavy. Each character class also has a certain array of weapons and armors that they are proficient with.
Okay.
So that just basically means you can use any of those listed weapon types with no negative modifier. But if, say, the pugilist here maybe wanted to use a heavy machine gun, he would be at a -4.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed the pugilist doesn't look like he has any armor proficiencies. It says here he is. Where did it go? He has unarmored defenses. Or
Yeah,
proficient in
'cause
armor.
he's-
barbarian.
So
No,
the
he's
or
more like the monk,
Okay.
actually, in that he is better at defending himself when he's not weighed down with armor.
Yeah.
And the higher he gets in level, the more that defense
The
goes
more
up.
naked he becomes.
Well, that depends on the character.
Making everyone
That's
else
not
extremely
necessarily
uncomfortable.
level dependent. Now, real quick, it says here my unarmored AC is 10, and my unarmored defense doesn't stack with pulp costume pieces.
Right.
So it would actually, I mean, everything. If I describe my character's outfit, that would just be flavor then in that
Yeah,
case. Okay,
exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
How do you determine your AC? I know it's by your costume, but
One moment, I will tell you.
thank you, sir.
And you said backgrounds are on page 63, right?
Yes.
Scrolling through the book. Going to the page.
Did you find it yet?
No,
he
I think
didn't
it's
find
page.
it yet.
And this is how you get the put that thing back where it came from, or so help me.
I'll put that thing right back on now.
See, I really wish I had a tablet. I have to buy one soon.
Would you like a tablet now?
Not right now. I'm already using my fingers.
Womp womp.
Okay.
Yes, Michael.
Armor class is representative of the defender's ability to yada yada blah blah blah.
It's to not get punched.
Exactly. Hold on a sec here. Sorry.
All right, I'm gonna roll my background while we're doing that.
So,
Politician.
a person wearing normal clothing or naked has a 10 armor class.
Okay.
Armor class can increase as much as modifiers allow. In rare cases, modifiers can result in an armor class less than 10. So basically, if you were to look at the armor class, or if you were to look at the equipment list of the pulp armor, it shows you what can stack with what other pieces of armor
Okay.
to enhance your armor class. So like you could wear a leather cap and a leather jacket, or like a bulletproof vest and a heavy coat or something like that.
Cool.
So, for example, if you were just wearing a trench coat, which has a +3 to your armor class would effectively be 13 at that point. And then there's other things that could potentially change that.
All right.
Does that all make sense?
It does. So, my scarf and mask and jacket look like they would stack.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And so would my gloves. So,
Oh, so the armor is like locational as well as.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So if for some reason he was to lose his jacket or whatever, he would lose that piece of armor.
Damn. Don't lose that jacket.
no, I like this jacket. It fits well.
Trying to think if there's any super duper vital information I need to impart to you right now in terms of game mechanics. Is there anything that anybody feels like it has been omitted at this point?
What's BTH?
Base to hit.
Oh.
So, for example, in combat, if you're going to attack somebody, you roll a d20 plus your BTH plus the appropriate stat. So, in melee combat, you would roll strength plus BTH plus a d20. Ranged would be dexterity plus BTH plus d20. And then, if you're using psychic or magic attacks, it will tell you in that attack what stat you would use plus your BTH plus the d20 to attack.
Okay, cool.
And one other thing that sets this apart from other games is that you roll initiative with a d10 as opposed to a d20.
A D10, huh?
And there's an optional rule from, I believe, the companion that I'm going to allow that will allow you to spend fate points to augment your initiative roll if you wish.
Cool.
So keep that in mind.
I will.
But also keep in mind that you don't know when those are going to be replenished, so...
I do not.
Yes. You don't want to remember that?
I mean, I don't know when they will be, but I also don't want to remember that.
Okay,
because
fine.
It's upsetting.
I understand
I'm
that.
pointing at the X.
Knowing that something could potentially be lost is usually upsetting.
Yeah, so let's just completely skip over it and
Alright,
just give me
cool.
all the points.
Mason, it looks like you're looking at your...
Equipment. I've got my background. I'm a businessman.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
Great.
Well.
So you get a +2 to anything that...
Business related.
Exactly. And actually that kind of fits in with this sort of shadow sort of archetype that you want to play because, you know, you are...
Oh no. Who's going to balance this ledger? Well, I have a +2 to that.
I mean, I gotta give myself a fedora.
Hey,
so-
man, you don't know what kind of adventure I got planned.
It's heavy on accounting.
It's all about accounting. Jay, you look like you have a question.
It's all office related hijinks.
Wait. Are all of you guys spec'd for accounting? Am I the only one who's not?
Look,
Yeah.
okay, I lied to you. We're not playing Amazing Adventures. We're actually playing Pencils and Paper Clips.
Oh my god, I feel so used.
So all of these things that Steven has been talking about are actually his IT character.
See, my IT character has a really rich inner life. His actual name is Craig, and he...
Craig Stevens.
No, Steve Craigson.
Yeah. He doesn't have much
Man.
in the way of hobbies.
I knew I should have rolled an admin.
Yeah. Well, it's too late now.
Well, fine, I'll just be a hooligan. That nobody
If
likes.
everybody is going along pretty well, how would we feel about maybe bumping these characters up to 2nd level?
I am down for that.
Oh.
I'm all
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
So
Let's roll a thing.
basically what this means, it's not going to see an increase to your stats like in other games,
Oh.
but you will see possibly some new abilities available, and those are in your character descriptions.
Okay.
It could also potentially change your base to hit as well as your hit points, so look over those real quick. For you, it would mean that you have more spells, I believe, available to you. And then, Steven, I think that also means that you get some special new jury rig thing, maybe?
I think I started with Jerry Rig.
Okay.
Um,
I was cramming this all night. I slept with it under my pillow like Edgar Casey, and I'm
so
flying by my pants.
HD, my hit die,
Mm-hmm.
is...
And for the purposes of this game, I'm not going to make you roll the hit die. I'm just going to say you can have the max hit points from the
Okay,
die
so we
type.
just
Oh,
double our hit
great.
points.
Exactly, yeah.
Right on.
I am here for that.
How much money do we have to throw around for equipment?
I'm going to let you pretty much get whatever you want within reason, but if there's something really, really crazy, I'm going to make you fight me for it.
A giant mech.
No.
I will box you in the alleyway.
I like those odds. Let's go outside. We'll be back, folks.
And I now have 2 black eyes for those of you joining in now.
But a new mech. So
A
who knew?
new mech. You just got to ragdoll and let your opponent come to you.
Also, Steven's now running the game because Michael bit his tongue.
Hey everyone. Yeah. Oh, so one cool thing I get is every level up I get more points for gadgets.
Yeah, so if you wanted to right now, you can make yourself another gadget.
However, I only get 2 points, and that would be a level 0 or level 1 spell.
That's between you and your technical guy.
So I'm gonna glance at those, but I might just bank it.
Yeah. But again, really this is going to impact your hit points and your base to hit. So look at both of those columns in the chart in your character class description.
Can I have 2 of the Colt M1911A1s?
Yes.
All right.
Are you?
I'm going full shadow.
I was gonna say, are you anticipating using those at the same time?
Ideally.
I
Okay.
hear that's really hard.
Or at least I'm going to pretend to, but I'm only going to use one, and then when that runs out, use the other one.
Pow! Pow!
Magic missile. Oh, should that be dope? Just fire that right through my gun. I like
The only reason I ask, and because I highly recommend that you do so, like pretty much any other game where you're trying to dual wield, that does come with a negative modifier, and I'm trying to find out what that is. So just something to keep in mind.
I think you become too awesome at that point.
Oh, that's
And
right.
so-
and
I'm
your
sorry.
opponent goes blind.
Yeah, from sheer awesome.
Okay, I decide what I'm gonna buy.
Okay, what are you buying?
I'm buying myself a laser gun.
Is there a laser spell?
No, but there's Arcane Bolt, and that's a level 1. It does 1d4 plus 1 points of damage. So I'm going to say it's a kind of comical looking gun that you have to wind up.
Oh, like a very Buck Rogers kind of thing. Because I was going to say, that does less damage than an actual pistol.
I know. So I'm going to have an actual pistol and my goofy pistol.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Maybe you can tape them together so that they shoot at the same time. But duct tape hasn't been invented yet, so
No.
never mind.
So when it says weapon for bonus, is that just my dexterity modifier, or what would that be?
Where do you see that?
Down here at the bottom where it says like gadget bonus damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So okay, so it's just my dex mod, which is 1.
exactly.
Cool. All right, I think I'm ready to punch Nazis and what have you.
Okay.
At some point, characters will attempt to fight with a weapon in both hands. This is a difficult skill to master, and it takes much experience to do it well. See the pugilist class.
The pugilist.
You a pugilist.
Right, yeah. But no, I don't get that until
Right.
until 6th level.
But basically, for you,
Mm-hmm.
you would designate a primary hand. You'd be at a -3 for the first attack and a -6 for the second attack.
I'm sorry, I'd be out of what for the first attack?
-3.
Okay, so if I just use, like I said, I don't think I'm actually going to use both of them at the same time.
But just perhaps draw them for effect.
yeah, and
Okay.
then when one runs out, I've got the other one ready.
Yeah, but if you wanted to, just keep in mind that that is the things that would be at play here. Also, I'd like to say that the 1948 New York that we will be playing in is a little more enlightened than the one in the real world. So, I want
Bless you.
everybody to know that you're fighting some really bad guys, and that fortunately the world is a little less dark than it had been previously.
I am in favor of that. So I do have one last thing to ask.
Yes, sir.
What are traits?
Good question. So traits are, if we're using D&D as a base, are kind of like feats. They define certain aspects of your character, and they confer both positive and negative effects. If you'd like, you can start the game with 2 traits. As the game progresses, you can actually buy off existing traits and then take on new ones. So for example, and this is on page 65, you can roll randomly if you wanted to, but let's look at absent-minded as an example. You're fascinated by knowledge and learning and are capable of pursuing complex trains of thought quite quickly. However, your preoccupation with such thoughts makes you a little less aware of your surroundings. So what that means, in a beneficial way, is that you would gain a +1 bonus on intelligence checks to recall information. But the drawback is that you would take a -1 penalty on wisdom checks to spot or listen. So if you want to add another layer or two to your character, we have a couple minutes. If you want to look at the traits, we can plug those in as well.
So I'm absolutely taken absent-minded.
Okay, so that means that you get the +1 on intelligence checks to recall information, but you're a little scatterbrained, so if you have to spot or listen with any great intent, you're at a -1.
Fun. Also, I'm going to take another trait, distinctive.
Okay, tell me about that.
Distinctive means I have a feature that is very hard or impossible to cover up, and it's you can't not look.
So the bonus that confers upon you is that you, on reputation checks, so if you're trying to see if somebody knows who you are, you get to roll with a +1. The drawback, though, is that you're at a -1 penalty for disguise checks. Because, you know, if you've got a giant robotic leg, that's a little hard to hide.
So I decided to go with distinctive eyebrows.
Oh, really? Tell me about Mo's eyebrows.
They are like 2 angry caterpillars.
All right.
It's not a unibrow, but it's pretty Seussian.
Love it. I know I keep asking this. Any questions? Any concerns?
No, but I have a name for my character now.
Okay, what's your character name?
Ace Shields.
I love it.
Nice.
You always got to have an ace in your pocket.
I love it.
All right, Brian.
That wasn't
There's
a dad pun.
There's a heavy sigh sound effect for you to use.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's really well done.
Use it.
I'm okay. My guy is going to be straight from Hell's Kitchen, and just as rough around the edges, Jimmy Gucciarelli.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna ask you to spell that. You know.
All right, Jimmy.
Yes, thank you. I know how to spell Jimmy.
Hey,
It's Henry with the H.
Come on, Gucciarelli, Goocharelli, Gucciarelli.
All right, Gucciarelli.
All right, now that we got that out of the way, remember it.
Yeah, don't worry. I got your number.
Yeah, I'll punch your
Yeah,
ticket.
yeah. I know where to find you if I need you.
Yeah, I got the clams to back it up.
That's all right. I'll find you at the bottom of a trash can. Anyway,
Well,
Jay.
fuck-
Sorry. It looks like
Whoa.
you're trying to say
Yeah,
something.
Whoa.
let's see. So, just going in line with the pugilist, what would I do if I wanted my character to have brass knuckles?
Ooh. That's a good question.
I was looking at the equipment list, and I was thinking actually maybe a staff might be the most accurate thing.
Okay.
Because it's like, 2 hands kind of operating in one plane.
I think I actually do have stats for brass knuckles in one of the other books,
Ooh, okay.
but I do kind of like that as an affectation, so it's up to you.
Okay, let me take a look at what we got. It's like,
Okay.
I don't think they're going to do a D10 of damage or anything like that, but they're definitely not just going to do a
How would you use
D4.
the stats for guns, but for your fists?
Sure, bang, bang.
That's right. They're loaded.
Into the room.
Where is the traits section? Do you guys happen to know where that
so
was?
page 67, I think.
Yes, that is. 66, 67.
Thank you.
I actually don't have the brass knuckles information, Jay.
You can just do
yeah,
a Billy Club or something.
I'll reskin something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm thinking, actually... is...
There's a good trait for that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a trait called Brawler. You naturally move closer to your opponent when fighting, instinctually grabbing and punching rather than striking with weapons, and it gives you a +1 bonus on unarmed attacks and grapple checks, and you inflict
Ooh.
normal damage 1d4 with unarmed attacks.
Okay.
The drawback is you take a -2 penalty on all other attacks.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that sounds fantastic. I was wondering what traits I would have. So that sounds like a winner right there.
Okay.
And I have to take a look. Let's see what aggressive looks like.
What background did you go with, by the way?
I rolled for my background,
Yeah?
and I got theologian
Theologian?
/ religious scholar.
Oh my god.
All
So I
right.
think the war changed me from an aloof,
So everybody served in the
man.
war but you, basically.
I was too young.
Okay.
Yeah, and I became the company chaplain.
Well, I didn't
So,
serve in the
you
war.
caught some Jesus over in Germany.
You were
Sure,
just-
yeah, there you go.
Bad case.
There you
Worst
go.
I've ever seen.
You were changed by the war, though.
I was trekking about in Europe during the war, but I wasn't part of anyone's.
So you were close to the war.
Yes.
war adjacent.
Would you say that
War doesn't change me.
the people that you came across
War never
perhaps thought
changes.
less of you because you weren't actually serving, but you were basically being a
Looky-loo.
tourist?
I think one of the ones I was going to look at was detached
Okay.
as a trait, and people always kind of came after me with the idea that I didn't care about what was happening. I just didn't care about, D-Day and stuff like that.
Right, because it didn't impact you specifically.
And it, like, I've got bigger, or at least to my small mind, a bigger picture I'm looking at.
Okay, I like it. But you were definitely in the war, being shady,
Oh,
right?
extremely.
And you served in the war as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll touch on that. Do you know what services you would have been?
So went through basic in the U.S. Army, maybe. They found that he had like a serious ear for languages. He picked up French and German like that. So he did some time in the OSS, probably served with French resistance.
Okay, but officially you were in the army.
Officially.
Yeah.
The official story is the Army.
And you, Jay?
Definitely the army. I think Josue was pretty aimless as a youth, and he sought to find something more in the trenches.
Great. Dang it, I thought they had more gear in this book, and I can't find it now. I'm sorry.
No worries. Let's see.
Oh, here we go. Also, if anybody does want the stats for chainmail or scale I have those right now. So we got about 5 minutes left in this first little installment of our exploration into amazing adventures. Feels like everybody's in pretty good shape. I like the concepts that you guys are coming up with. I think there's going to be some really interesting dynamics among the group, and that's always fun. Okay, I lied. I don't have stats for Brass Knuckles. I'm very sorry,
No
Jay.
worries, no worries. I'll reskin some. I'm checking out the traits right now, and
Okay.
we'll see about what weapon I reskin in just a minute.
Nice. I'm also going to take the secondary trait of focused.
Okay.
So I have a +1 on anything that pertains to concentration,
Okay.
but a -1 to spotting hidden.
Okay. That sounds great. And you said you were going to choose your spells before our next episode, right?
Oh, no, I have them picked already.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I've got Stun, Influence, Detect Magic, and Ghost Sound.
Great.
That's my 0 level. My level 1 is Obscuring Mist, Command, and Change Self. And I don't think I can actually use level 2, even though I have the spell slots, but I don't actually have them for my level. And that was Burning Hands.
Okay.
So I'm not worried about that.
Awesome.
Burning
Classic second edition. It feels like they took second edition spells and just like put them in here.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of class abilities as well that are just transporting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Castles and Crusades is that it definitely takes its cue from those systems. But there is something about just the way they massage what we're familiar with that, I don't know, I think is interesting.
Okay. Let me Google. I wonder if there's like Brass Knuckles online.
Yeah, I'm very frustrated because I was pretty sure that those were in here. Fair listener, we likely will have found the answer before we post this, so we thank you for your diligence and your patience.
Searching for things. I can buy them on Amazon.
Ooh.
No, but not seeing anything. So let's take a look at the weapons. What can we reskin?
I mean, I like the notion of the like walking stick or whatever.
Yeah,
because
the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might go with that.
Okay.
Okay, traits. So I'm definitely taking that brawler trait.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's where you write those. I was like, what are benefits and drawbacks? Those are the things that it lists out.
Exactly.
Yep, next to the thing. I'm a smart man.
So to more specifically cover what your magic or your mana energy pool does to allow you to cast spells, your 0 level spells cast 1 point to cast.
Mm-hmm.
Your first level ones cast 2, And then if you wanted to cast your second level one, it would also be 2, I believe. No, sorry, it would be 3.
Gotcha.
All right. Let's take a moment, put some finishing touches, and I don't know. I dare say we are about ready to embark on some amazing adventures.
I see what you did there.
One does one's humble best.
Yes, they do.
Ooh, you know what? Hold on.
Yeah.
I just checked the description for that brawler class. It doesn't work with the pugilist class or the brawler trait.
Oh, okay. Well, there you
Because
go.
brawlers are already there. Because pugilists are already brawlers. They cover that trait already.
So why can't you just be a double brawler?
There's a lot of not stacking in this game.
Makes sense, actually.
Brian, what do you need?
I'm looking at traits. I think I've picked my first one. We can start with 2, is that correct?
That's correct.
I don't know why I'm holding up 3 fingers. I think my first trait is going to be cautious.
Okay.
Because, he's very much, having spent time with a lot of, clandestine organizations. That's kind of his mindset now. Trying to figure out what the second one is going to be, though.
Okay. And you can certainly do that in between episodes because I hate to say it, but we are at time.
All right.
So what this means is that between now and our next episode, we're going to put the finishing touches on these characters. We're going to get ready to launch into the world of New York City in 1948. And when that time comes, I will continue to be your host, Michael Robert Holmes. You can find me on Twitter at MRH_3E or on Instagram at Michael R. Holmes. And to my left...
Hi, I've been Jameson McDaniel. You can find me on Instagram, GM_Mace, like the weapon, or Twitter. I'm starting to do that more. Striking_Rogue.
My name is Stephen Pope. You can find me online at StephenJPope22. Also, make sure to check me out on Saving Throw Show at Saving Throw Show, and also on Uncanny Valley and a Chronicles of Darkness actual play, and that's found at Uncanny Show.
I'm Jay Africa. You can find me on Twitter at JAfrica and on Instagram at Transplantation.
And I'm Bryan Haskell. You can find me on Twitter at Bryan J. Haskell. That's Bryan with a Y and Haskell with 2 L's.
All right. So this has been Games We Never Play. You can find us as a whole at GWNP_pod on Instagram and Twitter. And we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.